and welcome. My name is Esther and this is my Flosstube. Here I mainly speak about cross stitch, but from time to time I will also show you something that I have sewn or I have knit. Sometimes there will also be a life update, but since my life is very quiet and since my life is very quiet and there's not a lot of things going on, and I prefer it that way, I would like to emphasize, I don't make life update that often. The last 2 years, there were quite a lot of drama with Carsten's cancer and us splitting up, etc., etc. So I really enjoy having a very quiet life at the moment. Today, however, there is a little life update. As you might know, I have been hit by COVID for the first time. You can probably hear it in my voice. I had a pretty high temperature, up to 39.3. Lot of coughing, and I'm very dizzy every time I stand up. Whoa. It's hard for me to keep my balance. What else? Yeah, and of course I had a cold. And I'm tired. I'm so tired. But all in all, it was worse having streptococcus this summer. And back in April, it was way worse. I felt way more sick. This time, I have been able to sleep. I couldn't back then because it hurt so much in my throat. So, I think I've been lucky. And, well, now I know how it feels to have COVID. Enough about sickness and illness. That's not my favorite topic. Please bear with my voice, and if I stumble more than usual when talking, my brain is a bit fuzzy. Okay, let's move to the stitching. I have very much to show you, a lot of projects to show you today, especially because of Michelle, but it's her fault. She's to blame. But more about that later. First of all, here's some someday I'm going to be able to say it. Stitchtistics for the month of October, even though we are almost through November. But anyway, as you can see, I stitched very much in October. I had 11 days off. And I had no plans whatsoever, which meant that it was very easy for me to sit down and stitch, which I did. So out of the 31 days of October, I stitched the 25 of them. Altogether, I stitched 26,419 stitches. I think that must be a record, but since I only recently started making my statistics monthly, I actually don't know. Excuse me, sorry, coughing fit. Altogether, I worked on 33 whips, had 21 new starts, and 1 finished object, as well as 5 fully finished objects. Okay, let's move on to the stitching. So, on my Google Drive, I have this shared document. I have changed it quite a lot. Before, I used to have that document as well as a document where I kept track on how many finished objects and fully finished objects I had, and I mixed all those 3 together. And now it looks like this. This is just the first page. As you can see, when I'm showing you the projects here, I'm not sure that I'm going to remember which fabric. And if I don't say it, you're more than welcome to go and check later in this one. I have now put the titles in alphabetical order, and they also have numbers, so you will see that I have now worked on 101 different whips this year. Every time it's green, it's a fully finished object. I have 52 of those this year, thanks to Jennifer and Michelle. The challenge, no doubt about it. If it's blue, it's finished but not fully finished. So you're more than welcome to take a look, and I will put the link down in the description box. Let's move on to the projects. So, first of all, I'm going to show you my older projects. Yeah, the first one is from Climbing Goat Designs, I think. It's Christmas cat tree. I worked on it for 1 day and I stitched 106 stitches. That means it's a cat I stitched on. It's going very slowly, but I think, sometimes I have projects like this where I start on it and I kind of lose interest, and then I just leave it be for a time being, and then all of a sudden I pull it out again and maybe stitch a little on it and leave it again, and etc, etc. And then all of a sudden I just want to finish it, and then I finish it. By the way, it's stitched on 20 count Ada. The next one is from Galliana Cross Stitch. Where is it? Let's see. It's the Christmas window, and it's Felix behind me. And I'm this far now. As you can see, now I can see how big it's going to be. It's an 18 count light blue Ada. And it's stitched with Misuseda silks called Copper. Then I finally stitched a bit on Autumn Lane Stitchery's Something Wig This Way Comes. Just 1 day, but I did 431 stitches. So it looks like this. I worked on this child here as well as the pumpkin. And yeah, slowly, but eventually I'll get there. And this is on 16 count Ada and hand dyed by me. I remember I was trying to, there was a call for which I could not get hold of because it was from the States. But I think I managed to dye a fabric that would suit this pattern. Anyway, I think it looks okay. And I'm not going to change it. So, editing Esther here. It occurs to me that I forgot to show you one of my FOs. So, as you can see, I am now showing you a photo of the fully finished object. It was one of my oldest whips. I started it back in June 2020, and I had a really hard time to finish it. But finally, I managed. What else can I say? Yeah, it's an 18 count white Ada. I did not leave that much. I think I only had about 1 inch around it. I mean, the extra fabric, but luckily it could fit perfectly into this frame. And it's now on my wall, and I like it very much, even though there are quite some mistakes in it. Bear in mind, it was one of the first projects I started stitching when I came back to stitching after a break of 7 years, I think. As you might know if you follow me on Instagram, I have done quite a lot of stitching on my temperature houses. I worked on them for 7 days and I did 1,569 stitches. And as you can see, at the moment, I'm working on September and all the threads are ready. I just need to stitch them, but usually I just stitch on this when I'm in a stitchy chat, because then I don't have to think about following a pattern, then I can focus on the conversation. That's nice. And this is on 16 count rainy days. It's a printed fabric. And the colors are the colors from Stitchy Mama. The first temperature stitching I did was her temperature tree, so I'm using the colors from that one, so I can still put them up against each other and see and compare them. And this was the wrong back. And the last of my old projects is my own pattern to fourth wing. This is also on maybe it's 20 count. It might be 20 count. 18 or 20 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And the pattern is by me. And yeah, as you probably know, Iron Flame, the second book in the series, have come out. I'm not done listening to it because, well, I only got a little more than 4 hours left, but I heard from several that it ends with a huge cliffhanger. I hate cliffhangers. I really dislike them. So I decided to stop listening to Iron Flame for quite a while. Instead, I'm listening to A Court of Thorn and Roses. Actually, I'm on the second book there, A Court of Mist and something. Instead. Anyway, I worked on this one for 6 days and I did 1,556 stitches. Talking about cliffhangers and not, or whatever you should call it, I have always been the type that back when I was still reading books, now I hardly ever read books because I prefer to be able to stitch at the same time, hence audiobooks. I think it was, yeah, one of the Harry Potter books that came out, the one in which Dumbledore dies, I think, and I had heard rumors. So when I got the book, the first thing I did, actually I do that with quite a lot of books, I start reading skimming the last 10 pages to know how the book ends. And that's just me. So you can never spoil a movie or a book for me by telling me how it ends, because it will just, thank you very much. Now I can read it with I can be way more relaxed while reading it because I know how it ends. I know a lot of people don't like spoilers. I love spoilers because, yeah, I just do. But maybe that's just me. Okay, that was the last of my old projects. Now we're moving on to all my new starts. I have 21. I have 21 new starts to show you. And I'm blaming Michelle from Penny's Daughter Shares because when she turned 50, happy belated birthday. I already said happy birthday to you. She also decided that she wanted to celebrate it. And she made this hashtag, which means that she's going to start at least 50 new starts before her next birthday. And because I don't have that many projects, of course I said, hey, I'm in. So now I'm up to 65 whips. So thank you very much, Michelle. But at least I do get some finishes done as well. So I think I'll survive. So, new start number 1 is from Mama Witch cross stitch. It's called Sweet Christmas. I have stitched on it 2 days. And I've stitched 1,355 stitches. And I think it's so cute. And that's stitched, as you can probably see. Yeah, maybe you can see it, maybe not. It's stitched on a leftover piece of fabric. A scrap. I'm going to tell you more about that later, because a lot of my projects are actually stitched on leftover fabric. Number 2 new start is from the Stitchtistics, How to Survive a Horror Movie. I only stitched on it for 1 day, and I stitched 416 stitches. It's on 18 count opalescent Ada, and I hand dyed it myself. This was one of the first times where I experimented with speckles on fabric. I think it looks okay. I know it's not everyone's taste, but hey, I like it. And since I'm stitching on it, I think it's okay. Yeah. So I have all these new starts, and actually it was going very well, and I had planned that when I reached about number 10 or so, I would probably stitch a lot of them so I could finish some of them. That did go very well for a while, until I purchased a pattern. I think you can say now that I'm almost obsessed with that pattern. Maybe you have already guessed it if you follow me on Instagram, and if not, I'm going to show you later. Anyway, we're moving on to number 3. That's actually a fully finished object. And there we have Senior. This little fox, and yes, I know I have to cut a bit more here, but I'm not going to do that until I'm feeling very well again. This fox, I worked on it 2 days, and I did 409 stitches. Hello? Could you please stop messing around? As I said, I stitched on it for 2 days, and it's on 14 count, and I stitched with 3/1 because I wanted a very good coverage, and I think I managed. And the pattern is from a cross stitcher magazine. New start number 4 is Paul McCartney, again on a scrap of fabric. It's a 20 count, and you can see how wide it's going to be. I worked on it 3 days and did 786 stitches. This is his hat. You cannot his hair. You cannot see much yet because so far I only used one color, and I'm stitching it 1/1. And it's silver gray Ada. And by the way, I do have Ringo and George and John as well. But Paul McCartney has always been kind of my favorite Beatle, which is why I start with him. The next one is a solder stitch. Maybe you remember from my last Flosstube that I showed you that I have bought some new patterns. Not that I needed more patterns, but anyway. This is Witch's Shoe. I stitched on it for 4 days, and I did 1,832 stitches. I really like this pattern. And this is on a scrap of 16 count Ada dirty, I thought it fitted very well to these colors. New start number 6 is also an FFO. The Broomstick Brigade. You can see it has a little charm with a year on it. And it's also on a scrap of fabric. Actually, it's the same. It's a scrap from the leftover fabric from when I did the lemon tree and the orange tree. I think it's called Icy something, but you are more than welcome to look in this one. I don't remember it correct, but it's 18 count anyway. And I really like these kind of longer pillows. I think they're cute. And of course, since I have cats, I had to stitch this one, and it's an easy stitch. So. New start number 7 is Polar Night Sight. Again, on a piece of leftover fabric. It's 14 count. I'm stitching 2/1. That means the coverage could be better, but actually I think the coverage is pretty decent. I worked on this for 3 days and did 949 stitches. And I think it's going to be very beautiful. It's a nice little pattern. New start number 8 is called Winter Wonderland, and this one I actually kitted up 2 years ago, I think. I remember having kitted it up and showed in one of my Flosstubes that I kitted it up. Back then I kitted up all 4 in the series. Now I de-kitted them, except for this one. This is called, because this one is the one I always wanted to stitch the most, it's called Winter Wonderland. I didn't stitch much on it, 1 day and 296 stitches. It's on 16 count Ada called Linen Look, and it's printed fabric. New start number 9 is Pussy Pose. I stitched on it for 1 day and did 204 stitches, and again a piece of scrap fabric, iridescent or opalescent. Actually, I don't know what's the difference between iridescent and opalescent, so if anyone knows, please enlighten me. Sometimes when I buy it, it says opalescent. Sometimes when I buy fabric, it says iridescent. And I have absolutely no clue what the difference is. So please enlighten me if you know. Thank you. And new start number 10 is again Soda Stitch. It's called Mioween. Again on leftover fabric. It's 18 count oatmeal. I stitched on it for 1 day and did 570 stitches. I think it's turning out all right. But when I'll go back to it, I have absolutely no idea, because I have this pattern that I prefer to stitch on at the moment. Now we move on to new start number 11 and 12, because they are on the same fabric. I use Sulky 1199 and 1299. I can't remember the design at the moment, but I have already started longer time ago Giles, and I think this is Sander, and that's in the black one. The blue one, that's Giles, and then the Willow is going to be the purple one. I didn't do that much. I stitched 100 with the purple and 288 on the other one. And I put them on the same piece of fabric because I think I'm going to frame them. Maybe in the same frame, because I do have a frame with 3 rooms, but actually I'm not sure that they fit. Time will tell. It's on a 20 count iridescent Ada. It's a bit difficult to stitch on it, but I'll manage. Another new start, yeah, of course, they are all new starts here. It's called Weihnachtsmarkt. That means Christmas market, Christmas, whatever. I forgot the word. I had this kitted up for a very long time as well. That was not the back. Here it is. It's on a very huge piece of 20 count, a very huge piece. 20 count Ada, as you can see. I stitched this one day, 471 stitches. And sometimes I think, are there really almost 500 stitches in this little area? But there is. That was new start number 13. New start number 14. I love this one. I forgot the design at the moment, but it's the one with the horror flies. Sal that has just finished. You can find it in my document. Weeping Helligore. I think it looks absolutely amazing on this piece of fabric. I think it's 16 or 18 counts, and I hand dyed it even. And I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Especially a bit from afar. Anyway, as I said before, I think maybe it was in the German. Sometimes it's a bit, sorry, coughing. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to remember. So what did I actually say? Was that in the German video or in the English? So please bear with me if I repeat myself, okay? What I wanted to say was that, yeah, I had planned to stitch a lot on all these new starts, but then came this pattern along that I'm completely obsessed with, and it's my new start number 20. So as you know, we are now at new start number 15. So you don't have to wait that long anymore to see if your guess was right, if you have guessed. Anyway, new start number 15 is Trouble Driving a Stick. It's from Cross Stitcher magazine. It's on 14 count Ada, called Aqua, I think. And I worked on it for one day and did 261 stitches. And I forgot to say that I did 771 stitches on this one. New start number 16, another soda stitch. This is called Halloween Witch. It's a circular pattern. I worked on it for 3 days and did 665 stitches. You can't see much yet, but you can see her hat, her witch's hat. And yet another soda stitch. It's new start number 17. It's called Merry Catmas. Again, on a piece of scrap fabric. This is 18 count, hand dyed by me, and iridescent or opalescent or whatever. And I did this. I worked on it for one day and I did 258 stitches. And I think it's going to look very nice on this fabric. New start number 18 is also an FFO. I saw it in Cross Stitcher magazine, and it was stitched on, I think, not Ada, but something like Ada. I forgot what they called it. It was something like size of Ada 4, and I really liked the I really liked the pattern, but I thought it would look way cuter if I did it as a small pillow, and so I did. It's called Cold Comforts, and it looks like this. And again, it's on a scrap of fabric, a leftover piece. And I love the way it turned out. And this is the back side. I think this fabric fits it very well. And then some felts. And yes, I glue. I like to glue. It's so easy. And I'm really pleased with the results. And it's done with the called for colors. That means the glittering colors, it's a DMC Etoile. That was the name. So white DMC Etoile. And now I'm going to show you new start number 19 as well as 21, because they are on the same piece of fabric and they are belonging to the same cell and therefore from the same designer. And besides, I want to have my new start number 20 as the last one. So this is Mama Witch Cross Stitch. If you follow her Patreon, if you're on her Patreon, she started a Christmas sale with little critters, and the first one was this raccoon baby, which came out 2 weeks ago. And as you can see, I did finish that one. And then some days ago came number 2, called Baby Bear. The raccoon baby I worked on for 5 days and did 1,608 stitches. This is the baby bear. You might have seen it on Instagram. I worked on it for 1 day and did 455 stitches. And it's on 14 count Ada. And as you can see, there are going to be 4 altogether. And as you can see, I have room for them here. And how I'm going to finish them, I have absolutely no idea. So, have you guessed? I think you have. If you follow me on Instagram, you do know what my last new start is. The one that I'm obsessed with now. You might know that, or you might have noticed that usually I do not stitch modern folk embroidery. Not that I don't like his patterns, but I have usually so many, and his patterns are huge that usually I'm capable of saying no thank you to that temptation. But I do love seeing all the rest of you, what you make of his patterns. That was until recently, because then he showed a new pattern that he was going to release called A Quilter's Dream. And I just, no, you cannot do this to me. You cannot do this to me, Jacob. But he did. So I had to buy this A Quilter's Dream. And well, I haven't stitched when I was feeling very bad with COVID, but otherwise, I have stitched quite a lot. So far, I had 2 days where I stitched more than 2,000 stitches a day on this project. Altogether, I have worked on it for 10 days. And I have stitched 10,416 stitches, and if I remember correctly, I'm on 46%. That means almost halfway there. The colors I'm using are 310 and 321, and it doesn't show 321 It's a more rich red color than this one, but you know how 321 looks. And I stitched it on 18 count Confederate Gray Ada. And yes, I'm going to show it now. I love it. I love it. Look at it. It's so amazing. Just look at the colors. I'm pretty sure you can see why I'm so obsessed with it. It's just too bad that the colors are not shown the way they should be. But look at this pattern. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I thought that I would find it so boring having to stitch this pattern 4 times. But as you can see, I have already started on the 3rd one. And no, it's not boring. Actually, the most boring thing, and still it's not boring, is this border. But it's just, oh man, Jacob, I love this pattern. If I'm going to frame it or make it into a pillow or so, I don't know, but all this work, I think I'm going to frame it just to keep it safe. Because I do have cats, and cats tend to vomit. So I think I'm going to frame it. Yeah. What do you think about this pattern? I think it's absolutely amazing. So that were all my new starts. And I have absolutely no idea how long this video is going to be, because I record the German video at the same time, so I have absolutely no idea how long my video is going to be. But I will see when I edit it, but I'm not going to edit today, because I am getting very tired now. I still need to show you my haul, but also I promised to tell you a bit about my leftover fabrics, and that's coming up next. You know, when I restarted stitching back in 2020, and I started shopping on Etsy, one of the first things I noticed was, I can get Ada in other colors than blue, red, green, gray, or ecru, or white. Yay, is that possible? So some of the first fabrics I bought were actually 2 pieces like this, hot pink, 14 count, and I dare to say, I think I paid more for this piece that I now pay for 1/2 meter, because I didn't know better back then. I had absolutely no idea. But anyway, and as you can see, I haven't even used it yet. But anyway, in here, every time I have stitched a project and fully finished it, I have scraps, leftovers. And if they have a decent size, for example, like this one, I mean, this one is like this one, you can see. Then I keep it. I will be able to make some of those mini motifs on it. But as you can see, I have a lot here because I put everything in. I mean, not little pieces like this, but anyway, I even have this. It's 8 count Ada. I tried to coffee dye it, or tea dye it. I think it's tea dye. Yeah, tea dye. But I'm really not sure if I'm going to make anything on it. Maybe. If not, then maybe my niece would like to stitch on it someday. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that's how I get a lot of fabric for a lot of my my newer projects. Haul. Where should I start? Yeah. First of all, we had this Christmas whatever. I found this one. Yeah, it's not completely even. It was cheap, 20 Danish kroner. I'm going to use it for, yeah, I think I saw Denise having something like this, and to put different kind of stuff on for decorations. And I think I'm going to use it for that. And if that fails, I can always use it for cookies or candy, right? So no big deal. So at this market, I also found this. I have absolutely no idea how many meters, but I would guess there's about 10 or more. I also found some red rickrack and some golden rickrack and some silver rickrack. It's a bit difficult to show here. And these ribbons. I like this copper color. And then I also found this box. And inside this box, there's another box. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with them, but it was so cheap. I mean, all together for this, I paid, yeah, not the tray, but for the ribbons and stuff, and these two boxes, I paid 40 Danish kroner. But I think I could put a piece on it, on both of them. I'm going to think a bit about that. But I really like those boxes, so I had to take them home. Maybe I'm probably going to paint them first, because anyway, they are not that smooth. So first of all, I'm probably going to, you know, make them smoother. But I really like them. Then I bought yet another frame. And these frames were very cheap. They were 8 kroners a piece. That's $120 or something like that. So I bought 6 of them. Not that I don't have any frames in this size, but I make a lot of smaller projects, so I need it. I also bought cleaning brushes for my sewing machine. My sewing machine is very old. It's from 1980, and it's not going that well. So far I only used one of these, but I think they actually work, that it does work a bit better now, so I keep my fingers crossed. In my last Flosstube, I told you that I had ordered some fabrics, but also that they hadn't arrived yet, but they have arrived now. I also bought some rickrack. This is pretty big rickrack, turquoise and orange rickrack. And this is jumbo rickrack. I didn't know you could get it that big. I have no idea what I'm going to use this for. I think it's not going to be for a small project. It has to be for a bigger project. Don't you agree? It's really big. And this is in a pinkish color. But I also found it in black. And it wasn't cheap, so I only bought a meter of it. So, and then the fabrics. I have showed you this fabrics before, because I use it for a lot of my Halloween projects as backgrounds. And when I ordered it this time, I noticed that it's actually glowing in the dark. All the cobwebs. So I bought a full meter of it, because I really like it. It suits almost all my my Halloween projects. So it wasn't going to be a waste of money to buy a full meter of it. So anyway, I also bought this fabric. It's a brown golden. I think it's really beautiful. Either for Christmassy projects or winter projects or whatever. Music notes. I am thinking, I do have other music fabrics, but I am actually thinking, because these notes are very small, that when I finish Paul McCartney, and maybe if I do the other three too, Ringo, George and John, it might look good if I put them on this kind of background. We'll see what it ends up with. This one I find absolutely gorgeous. Again, it can be used for Christmas, but also for winter projects. I think it's so wonderful, so beautiful. And so is this. Yeah, of course, I find all the fabrics I bought beautiful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought them. This one. This is just a piece like this because it was expensive. And I thought, well, I can just use it for little pillows with a background of little pillows. And this one, and the red color is more beautiful. It's looking more red in real life. And the last one is this one. It's kind of like the same as the black one, just in the gray color instead. So that was my haul. I don't have plans as usual. I work very well with my stitching if I do not have plans. Well, you could say that my plan for the near future is to get a lot of stitching done on a quilter stream, but that's just because I'm obsessed with it, right? What else? Thank you for watching. I hope you had fun. Anyway, I had fun showing you all my new starts. I have absolutely no idea how many projects I will be able to show in my next Flosstube, because a quilter stream is taking up most of my stitching time. But it took me 10 days to get to 46%, so if I was feeling all right, I could probably finish it in 12 days. But I don't think that's going to happen, but because I do stitch and other stuff as well, but just 100 stitches here and there. So anyway, I think I already said it, but so I will probably repeat myself now. Now I'm getting a slight headache now. I think I have to rest now. I have absolutely no idea when I'm going to edit this, but I promise you that this video is going to get up in this week someday. One of the days in this week was what I was going to say. So I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Bye.